using the Pythagorean Theorem. Basically, all the uses of the Pythagorean Theorem kind of boil down to one of two things. Either we have A and B, and we want to know what C is, and therefore we square the A, and we square the B, if we call that x. We get x squared, and then we have to take the square root of both sides. The square root of a squared plus b squared is x. Or we know the hypotenuse, and we know one of the sides, and we don't know what one of the other legs is. In which case you get x squared plus a squared equals c squared. And so what I'm saying is the x squared, the thing that you want to know, is not always alone on one side of the equation, only if it's the longest side of the triangle. In this case, you have to subtract the a squared over. X squared is c squared minus a squared, and then you take the square root, c squared minus a squared. So you always want to keep in mind, are you trying to find the longest side or one of the shorter sides? Let's do some examples. Let's say that you have a painting that is 48 inches tall and 32 inches wide, and you want to know what is the diagonal measure. Well, in this case, what we're talking about is a right triangle, and the thing that we want to know is the longest side. So we say 32 squared plus 48 squared is d squared, and therefore take the square root of both sides. The square root of 32 squared plus 48 squared is d, and I'm going to need a calculator on this. 32 squared plus 48 squared is 3,328, and if we take the square root of that, we get 57.7, let's say. So D is approximately 57.7 inches. And that makes sense. It's longer than either of the other two. Let's do a different example. Let's say we have a board. Oh, I always love this problem. It seems so bizarre. You have a shed, and your shed is 8 feet across. See, aren't you surprised? I know your shed. You know your shed is 8 feet across. And you try putting in a 10-foot board. And you think, well, it's only 2 feet off. It's not going to stick up so high, is it? Well, we've got a right triangle. We want to know what this height h is. Now, the Pythagorean theorem says the squares of the two smaller sides. 8 squared plus h squared is 10 squared. And so we subtract the 8 squared from the other side. H squared is 10 squared minus 8 squared. H squared is what? 100 minus 64, which is 36. And so h is the square root of 36, which is 6 feet. And this just boggles the mind. The board was only 2 feet too wide. How far is it going to kick up? 6 feet. And this is why if you try to fit something that's a little too big into a space, it can take up a whole lot of space. This board is going to take up most of your shed. It's not just going to be a few feet off the ground. It's 6 feet off the ground. Enough of that for now. One more application, and I think we'll be done for the day.